Hi, Zach Dobson with this week's Friday Photo Tip. This is the third in my three-part series on aspect ratio and how it affects your shooting, printing, posting online. The first week was an introduction along with how it relates to your camera. Second week was about printing your images. So go back and check those out if you need an introduction or any of that other information. This week is about posting your images on social media and all the different aspect ratios that are involved. So as a photographer, the main issue that I have with social media is that the aspect ratios are all over the place and are not actually very common to what you're shooting in your camera. So it's kind of frustrating from that perspective. There's some ways you can kind of get around that though. Being the main photography app, Instagram is the one that really popularized the square image. That's the 1:1 ratio. Most cameras don't shoot natively in a square format. Most phones now and some digital SLRs and mirrorless cameras have settings where you can shoot in a square format, but it's not the default setting. So as someone who shoots a 3:2 aspect ratio almost all of the time, that's usually too much of a crop for me to do. I just won't do it. Instagram does allow you to post the full width of a 3:2 ratio image, but the downside of that is it appears a little bit smaller in the browser overall, which isn't really ideal, but I go along with it anyways. Vertical images are more difficult because they don't give you the full 3:2 width as even an option. They only allow you to do a 4:5 ratio, which would be the print. If you're thinking of it as a print, it's an 8:10 size of print, so it's slightly taller than a square. That cuts off quite a bit if you're shooting a 3:2 ratio like I do, so I'm not usually crazy about that, but sometimes I'll be able to make it work. Instagram stories are different because they're only vertical and it's a 9:16 ratio. So again, that's a decent amount that you have to crop off the sides to be able to get it to fit. If I'm shooting something that I know I'm going to post in my stories, a lot of times I'll try to shoot it in app so I can see exactly how it's going to look. If I'm trying to get more control of the exposure of an image and I'm shooting it in the native camera app, to do that, I'll just leave some extra space around the edges, step back a little bit from the subject so I have plenty of room to crop in the sides and I don't lose anything important. Twitter's aspect ratios are totally different. What I do like about Twitter is that if you click on a photo, you can expand it to the full screen of your phone or your computer, and that's a nice effect to it. What I don't like about Twitter is when you're in what they call the preview view, which is when you're scrolling through your feed, all images appear at a 2:1 ratio, so they're pretty narrow when you're scrolling through, and the problem with that is it can leave out an interesting part of your photo. You have no control over that crop right now, and it can leave out an important part that somebody wouldn't even think to click on and expand your photo because it's missing something that you want to be in it. The problem only gets worse when you're talking about a vertical image. It takes that whole vertical image, and as a preview, it's only showing that tiny bit. And personally, I find that frustrating, so I try not to share a lot of vertical images on Twitter, or I might share something that has more of like a pattern or a feel overall, so it doesn't matter where it crops. Once you get into the actual full tweet, if someone clicks on your tweet, it does show you the full image no matter what size it is. And then from there, if you click on the actual image, it'll go full screen. So if you have a photo that you want to be completely visible as somebody's scrolling through, it has to be in that 2:1 horizontal aspect ratio, or parts of it are going to be left out. For Facebook, when you're scrolling through, it does show the whole image, which is nice. But overall, personally, I don't like the image viewing experience on Facebook. It's so cluttered on the sides and everywhere else around the photo that personally I just avoid posting photos there most of the time. So there are a number of other social media platforms. I don't really have much personal experience with those, but all you need to do to apply your newfound knowledge is Google the platform, aspect ratio, Pinterest, aspect ratio, and it'll give you all the information that you need. Lots of people write blog posts about very specific things like this, so it's not difficult information to find. For this week's ZDP Photo Challenge, if you used any of these tips throughout the series, when you're posting on social media, just use hashtag ZDP Photo Challenge. Maybe just let me know how it affected what you chose to do with your image, either when you shot it or when you edited it or when you were posting it. How you use that aspect ratio knowledge to get the photo to show up in social media a way you were really happy with. So that's all for my 3-part series on aspect ratio. I hope it was helpful. Leave a comment if you have any more questions. Go back and reference the other videos. They're always going to be there until the end of time. And thanks for stopping by. Keep it real.